3 months ago, I got a Retroid Pocket 5 because I wanted to have a more variety of games that I could play on the go. Coming from the PS Vita, honestly, it was hard for me to find a handheld that will meet all my needs. The main thing that got me into getting the Retroid Pocket 5 was the fact that it had a nice build and the joysticks are on the same level. I am personally not a fan of handhelds that have uneven joysticks, so this is my first gaming handheld that I have purchased, other obviously than the PS Vita, and so far the amount of things that I've been able to do on this device is amazing. For the price and the power that this device has, it has allowed me to play so many games on the go that I didn't think I would be able to. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys what's on my Retroid Pocket 5, the games that I have and the emulators. So let's get started. Now before we begin, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, really helps me grow so I can keep on bringing content for you guys like this. I do want to let you guys know, if you guys do have a PS Vita, I just released this game called BubblePunk. I originally had released this game on PC, so now the PS Vita has its own port. You can download it directly from the BubblePunk page, or you can download it directly from VitaDB. I work with Sound Composer and as well as this guy that he worked on all the art. I basically wrote the story and did all the programming for the game. And if you guys don't have a PS Vita, you can also install the VPK on Vita 3K if you guys want to give that a try as well. I also do want to let you guys know that for my Retroid Pocket 5, I only use this for gaming only, so I don't have any apps for anything other than gaming. So basically all I have in here are emulators and native Android games. So to start, the front end that I'm using is ESZ, which is kind of cool because there's a new update now that you can see your Wi-Fi battery level and whatnot. And the theme that I'm using for this is actually called Cathode, so you should be able to download it within ESZ. You can just change the color scheme to make it look however you like. I feel that this gives it like a more cyberpunkish kind of theme, so I like that. And basically the quick rundown is I have PS1 games, PS2 games, PSP games, Vita games. I have a section here for a lot of Android apps, another section for all my Android games, as well as all the emulators that I have installed in here. I also have some old school Java games. I have PC games here, which is emulating Windows, as well as some GameCube games and the secret console games as well. I have Wii games and one Wii U game, and I also have a few games of the old N-Gage phone. For PS1, I'm basically using DuckStation to emulate all these games, but I don't have that many here. I only have Parasite Eve, Parasite Eve 2, Silent Hill, and The Fifth Element. I just recently added this game. As for the Parasite Eve games, I didn't play any of these two growing up, but I added them here because I did play The Third Birthday on PSP and I really liked that game. So I know that these two are kind of like prequels to that game, but not exactly, because The Third Birthday kind of changed things a little bit. I have the original Silent Hill here, and I like the movie The Fifth Element, so that's why I added this game. So like I mentioned, I'm using DuckStation to emulate all my PS1 games, and I'm using the widescreen hacks, and I'm also increasing the resolution of the game so they can look better on here. If you want to have all my configs for this, you can also check a video down in the description where I show how to set up all the PlayStation emulators with my settings. I know there's a few other emulators for PS1, but I personally have found that DuckStation gives me the best performance for my needs, so that's why I'm sticking with this one. Now jumping on to PS2, I am actually using Nether SX2 for PS2 emulation. I am not using the most recent version, I am using version 1.8, and so far I feel that that's the version that has given the best performance. I have a bunch of different games in here. I didn't have a PS2 growing up, but there were a few games that I wanted to play on there, so that's why I have added a lot of these games on here. I mostly like to play horror games and also a few RPGs here and there, so that's why basically all of my collection here for PS2 is just horror games. I had no idea that there was a Constantine game until I was searching for PS2 games that I could play, and I really liked the movie, so when I saw that there was a game, like I was like, I need to play this game, so that's why I added this game in here. I find it so funny seeing that this guy is literally Keanu Reeves right here. I find that really funny because he's also Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk, so both games I guess are using his face. This is my first time booting up this game. I'm not sure exactly what I need to do. For PSP, I'm using the PPSSPP emulator that you can download from the Google Play Store, and I have a bunch of games here that I actually did play growing up, like God of War collections or the Grand Theft Auto games, Miami Vice, Midnight Club 3, of course Silent Hill Origins, which is my favorite Silent Hill game. Third Birthday is also probably one of the best PSP games ever made, honestly. I feel like when it comes to emulating PSP games, the Retroid Pocket 5 does a really good job because the PSP was already a handheld. There are a few games like The Third Birthday that you were able to control the camera with the D-pad like this. So if you actually map the camera to the right stick on the Retroid Pocket 5, literally you have like modern controls for a PSP game. Not all games did that, but the fact that The Third Birthday did do that, it was great because literally runs so good on here. Especially by increasing the resolution, literally makes this look a lot lot better. This game was really good, but I feel like a lot of people were not too happy about the fact that it switched from what it used to be for Parasite Eve into what is now more like a third-person shooter kind of. But I feel that the mechanics and everything works really well, and the story I feel that is pretty good. As for the PS Vita, I actually had two games on here, which was Freedom Wars and Phantasy Star Nova. I had patched this game in English. I won't be able to showcase any of the gameplay for this because I actually deleted the games within the emulator. So when you export them to the front end, you're actually able to see the games here even though you don't have them. But the reason I deleted the games here is because I feel that the PS Vita emulation is still not in a good state. It's still really wonky. You also need to change drivers and whatnot, and it's not as easy and seamlessly as when you use the emulator for the secret console, because that is really well made, and the PS Vita emulator is not like that. So honestly, because I come from a PS Vita, I just rather play my PS Vita games on here. I feel that honestly it's just easier for me since I already have all my stuff on here. The next category will be the Android apps that I have here. So it's not a lot of them. Obtainium, which allows me to basically get all these emulators and see when they have updates. So for example, here I added a few other emulators so I can download those myself if there's an update. Like for example, you can see this one for secret console emulation, or you can see the RPCS3 Android as well as another secret console emulation. So the way I did that is I changed the JSON file that Obtainium reads, and I basically connected to the GitHub API, and I got the data needed for Obtainium to be able to read that. I have few other apps like Sicting Fork, but I haven't really used it. I have VLC, which is a media player. I don't remember exactly why I have it here. I just don't really use it. For archiving and unarchiving things and file manager or whatnot, I use ZArchiver, which I find it a lot better to use than the default file manager. For this, I also use Mixploder Silver because it allows me to see a few things under the root directory of the Retroid Pocket 5 without me having to root the device, and I'm able to at the very least delete some files that I don't need there. If there's any app or anything residual files that are there after you delete something, this will do the job for me. Now moving on to Android games, I have quite a few games in here like Blasphemous, Bright Memory Infinite. This game was actually a port from the console version, which is really nice to see that on here. Carrion, Children of Morta. I believe I have Alien Isolation, which I don't know why it's not showing on here for some reason. Oh, here it is. Isolation. I guess it shows as Isolation only. Hyper Light Drifter, Hitman Blood Money, GTA San Andreas, Gris, Forgotten Memories. This is a horror game that released a few years back. This is the remaster version, but I also have the original version, which still looks pretty good, honestly. Here's just a quick gameplay of Hyper Light Drifter, Bright Memory Infinite Mobile, which this game looks so good for what it is. It's really challenging, gotta give you that. But I do like the futuristic sci-fi type of thing. You had like double jump and the way you evade and everything, just pretty cool overall. Or other games such as Carrion, where you basically play as an alien that was trapped in a laboratory and you're basically eating all the scientists and everything around. I remember I played this on my PS4, and when I saw that it was coming to mobile, I was like, yeah, that would be awesome to have on the go. For the old school Java games, I'm actually using J2ME loader, but you're also able to use JLMod. The reason I'm not using JLMod is because I originally started with J2ME loader and I made the configurations for my games, so I'm not sure if I will be able to transfer my configurations to JLMod. So here I'm currently running Cyberpunk Darasakus Plot. So this is actually the very first Cyberpunk game that they made, obviously before 2077. And what I like about J2ME loader is the fact that you can customize basically the buttons and everything. The reason I still have the layout here is because for this game you do gotta hack into some terminals and you gotta use the buttons. But what I did was kind of give it that aesthetic for Cyberpunk 2077. Well, they use that cyan blue with like the red color. But basically this old Cyberpunk game looks like this. All these Java games kind of look like this. These ones are basically the games that were released on phones back in the day, where the phones came with the keyboard, so you kind of had to use this to move around. I just have it mapped to my gamepad so that I can actually use the gamepad instead. There were other good games for this, like for example, this is an old God of War game and it kind of has like combos and stuff like that, just like the other God of War games, so that's kind of cool. You have other big games like Silent Hill, but this is more of like a visual novel where you kind of like point and click adventure, where you just move your cursor and kind of like look at things. Or another game like The Witcher that was also released on here. I still need to configure the controls for this one, but you can see like this is, you're basically playing as Geralt on here, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people forgot about a lot of these games. You also get some other Java games that were in 3D, like right here you can see this Tomb Raider game is basically in 3D. That is not the only one. You also have like Fast and Furious Tokyo, or you also have another one like Galaxy on Fire, which was also really popular back in the day. Now for Windows games, this is a really big category because the fact that you can play play PC games on the Retroid Pocket 5 and they run pretty good. It's crazy to me. I've been playing a lot of Tomb Raider, Mirror's Edge. I have Sleeping Dogs in here, but I haven't really played it yet. Like, I just booted up, got it to work, among other games. But for this, even though I have the shortcuts here, I usually don't use the front end to launch my games for Windows games. So for this, I'm using Winlator, and when using Winlator, sometimes my games don't boot if I try to launch them from the front end. So I have to physically go to Winlator and boot them from there as a shortcut. What I've been doing is using Gamehub, because Gamehub seems to have like a better performance when it comes to some of these games. Like for example, Watch Dogs, I was having audio issues in Winlator. The Tomb Raider, it was actually giving me better performance here, as well as the Evil Within. All these games are actually playable here. Red Dead Redemption, as you saw in the beginning of the video. In the past few days, I've been playing actually a couple of Watch Dogs, and I'm really impressed about how well this game runs, because I remember playing this back on my PS4, and to be able to play this on a $200 device, that's just crazy to me, especially because the FPS remains pretty consistent. And not just this, there's a lot of other games where the games perform really good. The only thing that I have encountered with Watch Dogs is just sometimes the audio can get a little choppy, but it's not too bad. Overall, a lot of the games perform better on Gamehub than Winlator. There are a few exceptions, like for example Mirror's Edge. Like, I'm currently running this on Winlator, but for example, like I tried to run this on Gamehub and I was just not able to get it working on there. The game was just not booting whatsoever. And as you can see, the FPS is performing pretty great here. It's going to like 50 plus, but this is one of those few exceptions where, you know, not every game is going to run this great on Winlator. Like I mentioned, I find myself playing more on Gamehub because the performance of the games there is just better, but as you can see, it runs beautifully on here on Winlator. For GameCube and also for the Wii, I'm using Dolphin. So for example, some of the games that I have here for GameCube, I have Geist, Metroid Prime, as well as Eternal Darkness. And for the Wii, I don't have that many. I have Dead Space Extraction, Project Zero 2, which is basically Fatal Frame, but this is a translated version of the Japanese game, and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which this was originally released on the Wii and eventually got ports for the PSP and the PS2. Here I am booting up Dead Space Extraction, which it took me a while to get it working correctly on here because the controls with the Wiimote and whatnot are a little bit annoying. So I played this a little bit, go to chapter 2 of the story. So just overall getting the controls right over here was just definitely not an easy task, because since this game is more like using only the motion control, it's a little bit different to be able to play it on the handheld than obviously playing it with the Wiimote. So with the Wiimote, you will move the stick around and this will move. For this, I had to map it to the left stick and mimicking other things. And for example, like right here, this is mimicking the Wiimote motion. But so far, I've been enjoying this game. This is my first time actually playing this game, so really interesting the take that they did on the Dead Space franchise with this game. For the Wii U, I'm using Simu Emulator. I don't have the newest version, which I've seen that got released not long ago. And the only game that I have on here is Deus Ex Human Revolution, which I only played the beginning of the game, and so far seems to be rendering and everything seems to be running pretty well on here. It's been a little bit ago since I was playing this game, so I don't remember the exact controls, but as you can see, the game is actually performing pretty decent on here with an FPS of 20 plus. And I did try to play other games on this emulator. Like, I really tried to put Watch Dogs on here, but I just couldn't get it working. This is still the beginning of the game, so I don't know how it will perform later down the line. So I'm jumping here now to N-Gage emulation. This was the first gaming phone that was actually released a long time ago. A lot of these games also have like box art here. That is really nice. There are a lot of big games on here like Tomb Raider, Tony Hawk, Red Faction, and such as like Elder Scrolls Travels as well. The emulator for this is EKA2L1. You actually need the software for the N-Gage to get it working on here. So similar to how you need the BIOSes for other emulators, you kind of need that for this too. But you can see here like it's old style school pixel graphics, and that's how the games are. Kind of, they look like PS1 type of games in a sense. But the fact that you were able to take these games on a phone back in the day was just a crazy thing. Now for the secret console emulation, there's a lot of games that you can play on here, and they actually run pretty good on the Retroid Pocket 5. I haven't really encountered many issues, and the issues that I have encountered with the games is due to the emulator not being able to play them, or it's due to the drivers, honestly. For this, I have 3 different emulators: the one with Y, the one with the S, and the one with the C. So the one I use the most is the one with the C. This one actually has given me the best performance of most of the games. There are just very few that perform better on the emulator with S, and the only reason I still have the emulator with Y is because Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen works better on there, or at the very least it was giving me like a better graphics. The one with the C seems to be the most supported right now, and I have so many games that I have showcased for the Secret Console emulation. I will be linking some of the videos down below, so make sure to look at those if you want to see the games. I have all the configs and everything for those games. I have a lot of the games here that I have not showcased on that series. I'm doing a series of these games on here with their configuration so you guys can get them working on your device. So there are still more games to come. There are still more games that I'm testing, and I will be putting out more videos regarding that. So for the videos that I have done regarding a lot of these games, there's some pretty big games like Persona 5 Royale, Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, or Shadows of the Damned, as well as Dragon's Dogma, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I have done configurations for all of those games, so if you want to play that on your Retroid Pocket 5, check those videos. Again, they're down in the description. Those have the configurations for the games that you need to get them working. Now we're basically done here going through the categories that I have on ESDE, but there are two more emulators that I have not added to ESDE, and I need to figure out how. But the first one is Citra. So for Citra, I'm using this to play literally just these two games. I had Liberation Maiden on my iPhone back in the day, and I really liked that game, but eventually the game got delisted from the App Store and there was no way to get it. So I found out that this game was also released on the 3DS. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to get that game here. I haven't really figured out the controls, but I got it working here, and that's mostly what I wanted this emulator for. Now the last emulator I'm talking about in this video is RPC S3. So this emulator was recently released, and it was thanks to that Chinese guy that made a PS3E. So PS3E doesn't seem to have as good as performance as what RPC S3 does. The only thing for me is just this waiting time for all the shaders and whatnot, because it takes forever to install the game and it takes forever for the game to boot. Not as much as when you're first installing it, but it still takes a long time, and I wish there was a way to get that running faster. But I haven't gotten the chance to test out a lot of games on here, but some of the few ones that I have tested out run pretty well, and I do have a video also on the games that I tested on here, so if you guys want to check it out, that will be also down in the description for you guys to check it out. But for example, here I'm running Fear, and the game performs pretty good. For the most part, the game hasn't given me any issues. Right now with the helicopter part, it was giving me a few issues with the audio that was a little bit choppy, but the game is running pretty good on here. As you can see, the game is giving me like about 30 FPS. I also got to run Silent Hill Downpour on here, and it also runs at a pretty good FPS. So there's a lot of other games that I want to try on here, but unfortunately I don't have the internal storage space for this, so I haven't been able to test out a lot of games for the PS3 on here. And not just that, it just takes a long time to get a game working on here because it installs the game. It's just such a long process. For those of you that have tried this out, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, it just takes a long time. Even small games can take a long time because of all the installing and shaders and whatnot. So sometimes it's just not worth the time because you don't even know if the game is going to work at all. And that is basically what I have on my Retroid Pocket 5. That is kind of a super compressed version. Didn't want to make this video too long. That is all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.